Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Hey, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
This episode is releasing in March, I believe the beginning of the month. Am I right, Allison?
Yes,
all right.
March 4th, I think.
March always feels to me like a really long haul.
Oh,
There's
it so is.
there are some years in March where there's no break from the day-to-day at all. There are some years where there's a minor break. But to me, even when I don't know, March just feels endless to me in the world of early childhood education.
It does feel endless. And like, even if you do have a break, right? Like for me, like that spring break, even if it's like a long weekend, I don't know. When I come back from that, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm done. Like, I don't know why can't school end in March? You know, I say this every year. I'm like, I don't understand why we have to go another 3 months. Like it's just long. And then you're like,
the children too, right?
The children
are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
The spring fever is going to set in. The children are feeling done with this routine. The children start to feel done. And then we get this mixture in our early childhood programs. We get a mixture of children whom they may still struggle with separation anxiety. And then separation anxiety comes and goes throughout a school year. There may be children who still have some anxiety about that. But then on top of that, we get the children who just want to be home now. They're just done. And especially, I think, in March, once the weather really starts to get better in like late April, early May, we can spend a lot of time outside with them, if at all possible. And then it just helps that spring fever. But somehow March, I used to get more students upset and wanting to go home and wanting to see family. So we thought that as you all may be heading into that we would discuss things you could do more than looking at children and just saying, you'll be picked up later by your whoever it is, your mother, your babysitter, your grandparent. Oh, don't worry, till the time is coming, you're going to get to go home. I think more than doing that, we need to harness the technology that's at our fingertips to actually connect people with the people, right? Connect the people with the people. The children are feeling, when they behave in ways like, I just want to go home, or I need to be with my family for whatever reason, separation anxiety or not. We need to figure out, in today's highly technological world, what are some ways that we can actually help these children feel more connected and then perhaps settle their emotions down because they've done something to connect.
Yes. And I've seen this work, because at my new job, and I've never used this at any other job, but this job we use one, it's almost like a social media for the parents. I don't know if I'm allowed to use the branding here. It's like an app.
Yeah, there's lots of them.
Lots of it's like a communication app. I've never really had to do that at any other school. I always just
most of the programs I work with use them. Okay.
So we use this one. And it allowed, like in the beginning of the year, it was rough for my little guys. It was their first time at school. These are our children who were born during COVID. So like they really didn't even know how to interact. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But this app, I would like take a video of the children, I'd be like, oh, you can wave and say hi to mommy or daddy or grandma or whoever. And then I could send it immediately on this app, almost like you would post on a Facebook, but like direct messaging to these parents. And then they were able to write back, and some of them sent photos back of like, hi, I'm at work, and the kids would be like, this is so cool. Like, there's my mom on the screen. Like, yeah, your mom's on the screen, and it was like immediately like, and some of the parents are like, hey, you're fine. I'll see you later. And instead of
that's
me
so
saying,
sweet.
Instead of me saying, hey, you'll see mom later, it was mom or dad on the screen, be like, hi, I'm at work. I'll see you at the bus stop, and it was like, and it made them feel like, oh, okay, she's telling the truth. Like, oh, there's my mom, where I can get in contact with her whenever I need to, because Miss Allison could just type it on the screen, and it was cool. I mean, to a point, like some of them were like, I want to do it again. I want to do it again. I want to do it again. I'm like, well, we can't do it constantly, but we can do
Yeah.
it in a little bit, and then in that little bit, they usually got busy and they were like, okay, I'm good.
I remember before all this technology existed, having children in my class who, for whatever reason, needed to feel connected to their families. And I remember calling on the phone that was connected to the wall with a wire, because that's what we had. And we would pick up the phone that was connected to the wall with a wire. And we would call their families and put them on the phone with their families. And I remember so many children getting on like, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, and talking on the phone. But I think that there's something about seeing, if at all possible, seeing a video of your parent saying, got your message.
Yeah.
I love you. I'll see you later. I wish this technology existed when my children were that age. I also think it's just randomly cool, by the way, and this is sort of an aside, but as you were talking, I thought, how randomly cool would it be if families just every so often sent a video of themselves working to say hello to their children, even without this upset?
That's a great idea that I might have to implement into my classroom. Because also, how much learning would happen if you did that, right? Like, it teaches them that, like, hey, this is where mommy and daddy go when I go to school. Like, my job is to go to school. Their job is to do whatever it is that they do. And it sees them in a different context, but it also still connects them to be like, oh, this is why we're doing what we're doing. Like, I go to school so that maybe one day I can do what he's doing at work, which is like important for them. Because I think sometimes part of the upset is struggling, like, why are we here? Like, what is the point of school?
Right. I want to go home.
The point of school, yeah, I want to go home because I could do this at home. Like, like, no, the point of school is so that you can learn, so that you can maybe eventually be in those positions that your parents are in, and I think that would be kind of just
I think it would be so cool to say to families, whenever you would like, feel free to record a video of yourself at home, at work, wherever you are, just saying hello briefly within, 30 seconds, saying hello to your child. And we can show it to them. Please understand that we can only do one a month per whatever, or, give them a limit. Otherwise, there will be some families that do it all the time, every day, which will bring us to our next episode, but that's a whole other thing.
It's fine.
It's a premature segue.
Yeah.
But I think it would be cool. I also think it would be cool. Like, let's say a child is upset. You're trying to connect them. You send a video of the child to the family, but the family cannot respond right now. I'm thinking about, like, when I'm on, for example, when I'm on conducting professional development on Zoom, I would not be able to respond to my child. So I think if you have those somehow kind of stored away and you can go, here, you want to see where mommy works again, you want to see where daddy works again, I think that could be helpful. But it's not, right? It could be helpful. There are other ways too, folks, that actually support. So that supports language skills, by the way, socialization and language skills. There are other ways that we can help children connect to families that support literacy skills. Like, you can say to the child, I know you want to go home. I know you want to see grandma who picks you up. I know you do. Let's sit down and write a message. And you can send that message however the people prefer communication, through email, through the app, however they prefer it. You can just say, let's send a message. Tell me what to write. My sister, I may have mentioned this in a different episode on a different topic. My sister, when her son was young, he used to dictate text messages to me through her. He wasn't old enough to write them himself. So he would say, I want to text Aunt Cindy, and he would say what he wants to say. My sister would type it in, show him his words back to make sure it was right, and then send it, which is a literacy activity. They get to see that the spoken word is the written word. They get to see, what the words look like that they're saying. And they get to see how you do that. So,
and I like this added, like, the technology portion of it in there, because I used to do that, but I used to do it the old school, like super, super old school way of, like, your mommy wrote you a note today. You know how, like, some of the moms or dads would write notes and put it in their lunchbox, like, hey,
love that.
I love that. And I used to tell them, like, when somebody writes you a note like that, it's really nice to write a note back, and so I would give them
That's
a
a
little
good
piece of
idea.
paper and I would say what, if they were able to write it, I would have them write it out. Or if not, I'm like, you tell me what you want your note to daddy to say, and then you could draw the picture or whatever you want to do around it. And so then they would do it that way. And then I'd be like, okay, we'll put it back in your lunchbox. And then maybe tomorrow you get another note. And then it's like a way of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth kind of thing. And that kind of shows them like, this is how you communicate with people. But that's like really like an old school way of like what we used to
Still
do. Like,
do that
but you
though.
still, yeah, because I
You
think
can
it teaches
you can
them.
sit
Yeah,
a child down, and we did this in the past where we would say, why don't we make a card for mommy and
yeah,
daddy, right? Why don't we? But we don't have to. If
yeah,
we feel like more of a communicative connection is needed for this child, I'm not sure why we wouldn't do it. Why we wouldn't
right,
say, let's make a quick video and send it
right,
through my app, right? Why
yeah,
aren't we doing that? I remember also, and again, I'm going back to when phones were wired to the wall. I remember pretending to call many a family member using the banana phone, for example, when a child would bring you a
yes.
banana like it's the phone, and I would say, let's pretend, right? I would say to them when they were upset, I'd say, do you want to pretend to call mommy and daddy? We don't need to do that. We can actually set them
Yeah,
up
we
with
can actually
ways
do
to
it.
communicate
Yeah,
now. And
yeah,
the reason sometimes I think that we used to use the banana phone, the problem was you knew you were interrupting. Like if a child, I want daddy, and you know that their parent is at work, or I want mommy, and you know the parent is
right.
somewhere where they can't be interrupted for whatever reason.
Yeah,
The substitute for, okay, let's call them, it was let's pretend to call them.
right, right.
And
Be-
but when you're using apps, they'll look at it when they can.
when they can. And I think if you explain that to them, like, hey, the way this works is if mommy's busy, she's not going to get to it right now, but maybe during her lunch, she'll get to it. So they're not expecting an immediate
Right.
response,
Right.
because otherwise they might get upset that they didn't respond immediately, or they might not quite understand the technology because they're new at it. So like explaining like, hey, we're gonna message them or send this video, we're gonna let it sit there, and when mommy can get to it, she'll get to it, and then she'll write us back. And that might be today, it might be during lunch, it might not be until
Right.
tomorrow, and just, but it'll be there and she'll see it, and just let it go. And hopefully that's enough that it helps them.
Yeah, I just think it's a better way. I still am thinking about, like, I love the idea of asking families if they could create a
I
video saying
like
hello to your
that
child
idea.
and just storing those for when they need to see them. Children are so visual at this age.
Yeah,
And to say to them, oh, they'll be back later, or let's use the banana phone and pretend, or
yeah,
you'll see them, don't worry. It's so abstract.
right.
They
It
want to, and
really
they want to
is.
see them now. Haven't you
Yeah,
ever, as an adult, I mean, haven't you ever had that feeling? I, I remember sometimes when I would travel without my husband for work, and I just wanted to see him. And so I was really
yeah,
glad to have technology by then where I could get on like a FaceTime, for example, and see you
yeah.
while I talk
And
to you.
there's Yeah, and there's something about that. Like I don't have like a husband or children or anything, but I do have my dog. And my dog on Mondays goes to daycare and they send me photos of him,
Yeah, they send
okay,
stuff.
while he's at daycare. And so if I'm having even if I'm having the best day ever at work, when I open that email and I see him, I'm like, "Aw," it just makes me happy, and then I could get through the rest of my day. So I feel like, and that's just me and the dog, but like, so imagine like seeing like, hey, here's mom, like just seeing a picture of mom or dad or grandma or whoever could really just fill your heart enough to be like, okay, I can keep going. I
Yeah,
can get
yeah,
through the
it gives
next
them,
hour of school. I can get
right,
through the next
little
lunch period.
resilience.
I can get through the
Yeah,
next day.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's about
yeah,
resilience, really, and filling your bucket. It's a
yeah,
it's a bucket filling thing. I will
yeah.
admit, since you brought up the dog, I will admit that my pet sitter sends pictures of my parakeets when we're on vacation, and it actually, the two of us are. I'm like, oh, she sent a picture, and the two of us look as if they're not sitting on the perch just like they do when I'm home. But
There's something about
there's
that because
something
I feel
about the
like it fills your
connection.
heart. It fills your
Yeah,
heart with the people and the animals or whoever that you have in your life. And it's good to be reminded that that exists because
yeah,
it's easy to forget that when you're wrapped up in school, or you're wrapped up in the emotions of being at school, or like you really are just so wrapped up in like, I just miss her, I just miss her, I just miss her. Well, it's like, no, she's still here, she still exists, she's still here. Because I think sometimes they forget, it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. They're like, well, I need to see her. And then they see her and they're like, oh, all right, I'm gonna be all right. And that's sometimes all they need. It's just something so simple. And because I've noticed that with like photos, like I always had photos of the families hanging up, and sometimes just seeing the photo is enough. But I think like if you could take that one step further and have the parents or somebody talking to them through this app, like how special is that? That's like taking it one step,
I think that's
more. It's awesome.
Right. So to answer like the title, When They Miss Home, I think to answer that title, it's when they miss home, find the best, what am I looking for? The highest level of connection that you can using technology. If we can't use this technology for good, then what's the purpose of it?
Right.
And I think it's very good, right? What we're describing, I would have loved to have had that ability for my children. And I suspect that when I was a young girl and scared, I would have loved to have seen what where my family was, what they were doing. And to just have that, love you, go and have a good day. See you later. I have work I have to do. Right.
I mean, that's what we as adults do. You ever get in like a funk, or like you're in a sad mood and you go through the photos of your phone?
Yes.
Or you look at the videos of you on your vacation and it brings you back. We're doing that and we're old. Okay. So like, but kids don't have like a phone. Kids don't have a phone they can just whip out of their pocket and start looking at pictures of their dog during the day. You know what I mean? So like we have to provide it for them.
You're right.
We might have to like set it up a little bit because, it takes parent involvement a little bit to do it. But like, there's no reason why we can't figure that out for them, because I'm doing it. Like if I'm sad, I'm like, that's the first thing. I'm like, let me go through some meaningful text messages of somebody who said I was awesome that day. I need to hear it. And it could have been 4 years ago, but I'm like, nope, I needed that. We're doing that. We need to remind ourselves of what makes us feel good and what fills our heart with joy.
Years ago, when children were upset and their families had to leave their upset children with us, and I know how hard that is, from a parental point of view. That's very, very hard. And I would call them when I was the director of program. I would call them as soon as their children were calmer and playing. I would call them and say, oh, everything's okay. He or she is playing now.
Yeah.
Even take a video of that and send it to the family and go, look, he or she is playing. But I don't think it should just be a one-way communication like that. I think also they should be sending things for the children. Right. Yeah. Send it back.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, because I think I have always done that. Like I would take a picture, but like, look, he's not crying now. He's happy.
Right. He's fine.
And but it would be nice for the child to get that too.
I agree.
So yeah, I think that is a good point. I like that.
I agree. All right, preschool peeps, we're going to let you ponder all of this. And if you have something that you do that you think is really awesome, or something we said that you try and you think worked out really well, please contact us. Go to howpreschoolteachersdoit.com and you'll find our contact form. Go to Facebook and find us on there and send us a message. Please do contact us and let us know it's going. We love to hear from actual listeners and not some sort of bots trying to get me to update my website. So please go there and fill out the contact
form.
True
story happened today.
Yes. Save us and send us real communications. Yeah. Okay, preschool peeps, we will catch you next time on the podcast.
Bye, peeps.